The silence in the auditorium was so thick you could feel it pressing against your chest. 12,000 people sat in that massive Britain's Got Talent arena, and not one of them made a sound. Not because they were bored. Not because they were confused. But because something was happening on that stage that none of them had ever seen before, and none of them would ever forget. His name was Miguel Santos. He was 9 years old. He had walked onto that stage barefoot. Not as a statement. Not as a gimmick. Because he did not own shoes that fit him anymore. The ones he had worn for 3 years had finally split open on the walk from the hotel, the budget hotel the show had provided, the first bed with a real mattress he had ever slept in, and rather than tell anyone, rather than ask for help, he had quietly removed them outside the stage door, tucked them against the wall, and walked forward. That was the kind of boy Miguel was. He came from a village in the Philippines so small it did not appear on most maps. A village where the electricity cut out every night at 9. Where the river flooded every rainy season and took a little more of the road each time. Where his mother sold hand-woven baskets at the roadside market for the equivalent of $2 a day. Where his father had left when Miguel was 4 and had never come back. He had grown up singing to fill the silence. Singing while he fetched water. Singing while he helped his grandmother cook. Singing in the small concrete church with the rusted roof where the whole village gathered on Sundays. The priest had told his mother once, quietly, after Mass, that Miguel's voice was not something that happened every generation. It was something that happened once, if the world was lucky. His mother had cried that night. Not from joy. From fear. Because she knew what it meant to have something precious and no way to protect it. A visiting charity worker had filmed him singing in the market one afternoon, just a short clip on a phone, and posted it without thinking. Within 72 hours it had 11 million views. Within a week, Britain's Got Talent had reached out through every channel they could find. It had taken 3 weeks to get a message to the village. It had taken another 2 weeks to arrange the visas, the flights, the paperwork. Miguel had never been on a plane. He had never left his province. He threw up twice on the flight. He pressed his face against the window for 6 hours straight. And now he stood at the center of that massive stage, squinting slightly under the lights, barefoot, wearing his best shirt, the white one his mother had ironed 4 times the night before, and he looked out at the audience and he did not look afraid. He looked like he had been waiting for this his entire life. Simon Cowell leaned forward. He did this sometimes when something caught his attention before a single note was sung. Some instinct, some reading of a person that went beyond calculation. He studied the boy. The bare feet. The stillness. The complete absence of performance anxiety. He picked up his pen and said nothing. The music began. A simple piano introduction. And then Miguel opened his mouth. What came out was not what anyone expected. It never is, with the ones who change everything. People expected sweetness, maybe, or the kind of crowd-pleasing brightness that goes viral easily. What came out instead was something ancient. Something that felt like it had been carried across oceans and generations before it ever reached that stage. His voice was not big at first. It started small, almost like a secret, like something told in a quiet room. And then it grew. Slowly. Inevitably. The way a tide comes in. By the second verse, people were gripping each other's arms. By the bridge, a woman in the third row pressed both hands over her mouth. By the final chorus, 12,000 people were on their feet, and not one of them had decided to stand. They had simply risen, the way you rise when something pulls you upward without asking permission. And Simon Cowell, who had sat through 30 years of auditions, who had heard every voice, every story, every impossible claim, sat completely still with tears running down his face and did not try to hide them. When the last note ended, the arena did not explode immediately. There was a half-second of pure silence, the rarest sound in show business, and then it broke open like a dam. Simon pressed the golden buzzer before the noise even peaked. Gold fell from the ceiling. Miguel stood in the middle of it, looking up, arms slightly out at his sides, like a child catching rain. Later, backstage, a producer asked him what he had been thinking about when he sang. He thought about it for a moment. He said, "My mother's hands." He said, "She works so hard and I want her to rest." He said it so simply, so quietly, that the producer had to turn away. Miguel Santos went on to reach the Britain's Got Talent final. He did not win. But 3 days after the finale aired, a foundation announced a full music scholarship for him through university. His mother received a house. A real house. With a roof that did not leak. The priest from the small concrete church watched the audition clip on a phone someone passed around the village. He watched it 4 times. Then he said, quietly, what he had always believed. He said, "God gives some people a voice so the rest of us remember we have hearts."